call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god.
Let's go. I'm about to go off like a weapon. Fuel to the top, got a filled up engine. In my thoughts, obsession. I will not stop, no, I'm never second guessing. I got a God complex. Haters love to hate, but I never feel pressed. Got a lot on my plate, but I never get stressed. I'll take all the pressure like I'm acing this test. Tear it up like I'm Jason. I see the world like it's ready for the taking. I see this place like a game I'm playing. Straight to the bank to collect my payments. No negotiations, it's my way, I was born impatient. And like a damn Freemason, I'll run this nation.
You call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god.
I don't know how to stop. I just go till I drop. Whether it's working or shots, give it all that I got. You can watch me work in my element. Anyone in the way is irrelevant. You wanna cross me, cool, not intelligent. Cause I don't forget shit like an elephant. Go ahead and tempt me, put it on the line and you'll come up empty. If I got time, I'm deadly. Never caught off guard, no, I'm always ready. I got a hand real steady. Look me in the eye and you'll see no hezzy. About to get real messy. I'll put you in a grave 6 feet like Kenny.
You call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Reckless Ray Dinero, and we are back at it again with another episode of Future Financial Strategies. Welcome to Thursday. I hope you guys are surviving the week. And we're about to jump into some risky business, if you would. A lot of talk going on this week about mortgages. I was actually on a panel, shout outs to Trigger Mike over on the Lapeef Network. He let me up. I got to rock out with them. They were talking about renting versus buying. There's a lot of to do and a lot of debate going on about renting versus buying. And I've always said it, it's a math game. Now, some of your favorite YouTubers and all the gurus, you get two different sides of this. Some people are like, everybody should rent. Some people are like, you should never rent. The way that I look at it is it's a real simple conversation. It's based on math. Like, what's more affordable? Now, I will tell you, as a homeowner who's doing it apparently the wrong way, even though my mortgage will be paid off within 15 years or so. I do 30-year mortgages. I like to cash flow as much as possible. I do utilize debt. Most people are taught that, or come at it from the guru perspective, that all debt's bad. You should never use it. And I will just say that, in all of my research and all of my education, especially just doing the math again, it's just math, people. Nobody's attained high levels of wealth without utilizing debt in some form or fashion. And we're gonna go ahead and debunk some lies since it's on my show, because we know my angle. They give you half truths to sell you a solution. When they give you the talking point that, oh, you should buy everything cash. Like, sure, some people can buy everything cash. Like, once you get to a certain level of wealth, that is afforded to you. Even though, historically, in America, there's never been a billionaire that's gotten to that level of net worth. I mean, I'm just saying, since we're talking about you ain't rich if you aren't a decamillionaire, right? Well, no billionaires are billionaires without debt. Not a single one. They utilize it. It is a tool. It is a scaling tool. Like we talk about over here at the Wolfpack, we are navigating into a space. We are aspiring to be in a space where we are only using debt to purchase assets. Now, depending on how you have your primary home set up, most people's primary homes are not an asset. That's just where you live. It's you and your family. It is more or less an expense, which I can understand. But one thing that you do have control over having that expense, obviously, because the gurus will tell you that you're going to be jet setting across the world. Most people are in places for 5 to 7 years. Like you're not packing up and moving across the planet. And if you did, you would have appreciated some value. But more importantly, one of the things that I always reference back to is my own personal experience of seeing multiple of my friends have to move multiple times over the pandemic because of rent cost spikes. Because as these original mom and pop guy down the street landlords sold their property to these big conglomerates, the conglomerates instantly turned around and raised the rent on everybody. Hundreds of dollars, not like $100. I'm talking 3, 4, 500. I was talking to Trigger Mike last night. He stated that they're spiking the rent $700 down in Texas. $700. That's insane. But you know what? You shouldn't own a house because you know what didn't go up? The mortgage. It ain't gone up $700. You know what has gone up? The home equity. Now, one of the other things that we were talking about in renting versus buying is the leverage that you have via your house. And a lot of the guys on the panel that I was on last night were talking about some of the moves they're making to start their business. And they're using the equity to do that, to start their business. Again, something you can't do if you're renting. Also, if your rent's going up at $700 a clip every year, how are you going to save to ever get anything started if they're taking all of your expense? You're spending every dime that you have to be broke in your house. You're house poor renting. Mathematically, that does not make sense. Again, a half truth. Another half truth that they sell you. Oh, I don't have a mortgage. I don't own my primary home. In most cases, if they're smart, and this is just being financially savvy person. I don't know, I can't claim to be Anton and say that I'm a C-level student. I'm way dumber than he is. Way dumber. But my brain does know how systems work, especially when it comes to money. Now, if I was going to get online and tell you that I would never buy a home, I would indefinitely rent, and I'm rich, and I'm owning properties, and I'm developing properties, I would probably be renting from a company that I owned, therefore making me the owner of the house. It's just I'm not the owner of it on paper. And then from a tax perspective, since I'm renting from my company, I'm renting from myself, I can say I don't own my home. I rent. From a legal standpoint, your property's protected. Additional layer of protection, right? Chicks can't come after your property. We just sitting up in here renting anyway. You just happen to own the company. Okay, but when you tell everybody else that and these people go around parroting and believing these talking points like they're going to save up $350,000, and me being the only person on Trigger Mike's panel who makes an average salary, who's saving up for a second property. It was an interesting conversation, but there's so many half truths and so much stuff that people don't know about the real estate game, and they just believe these gurus about everything that they say because they're just like, well, I'm rich. And it's like, yeah, okay, so like you're on the top of the mountain, that's fine. Did you get rich during a hyperinflationary period? No, you did not. 2008 wasn't hyperinflationary. Yes, we've seen higher interest rates. Interest rates are high. The prices of houses are high too. And everybody thinks that there's some sort of collapse coming, but the angle that I'm looking at it is I would understand that if we were going to just keep pushing rates up. And I mean, the prices are cooling a little bit, as I'll show you here in a little bit. Rental rates came down a sneeze. But the issue is this: interest rates went up, housing prices spiked. The housing prices did not go down in correlation to the interest rate, because the way this worked historically was you basically paid the same price for a house either way. Either you got a really low interest rate and you paid more on the house, or you had a high interest rate and you paid less on the house. Right now, as the interest rates have climbed, my property value has consistently gone up every year. The rental rates have consistently in this area gone up every year. Like they're astronomical. They're nowhere. They're even where I specifically live. The rental rates are hundreds of dollars more. Like if I was just paying rent, like I would be screwed, because the rental rate in the area around where I purchased has gone up. The average rental rate in the city that I live in is almost double what we were paying at the beginning of the pandemic when we purchased, to make sure that our rent was like the property was going to be semi-consistent. The issue with this whole everybody should rent thing, and I feel like it's an agenda. There's two sides of the agenda. There's people telling you that you should indefinitely rent, but if you're getting clipped, and by clipped, I mean your rental rate, you have no home stability in your rate. Every year it is going up hundreds of dollars. If you are not making hundreds of dollars a month every year and you're renting indefinitely, then the math doesn't shake out on that for most people. Even if you do a career change, like at that point, then you got to go buy a house. You're making more money now. You're going to go get a more expensive rental. How do you save money if they're indefinitely picking at your income to save up cash to just go buy all this property with cash? How does that work? Because right now, outside of like the only effective means, and like honestly, it's the one strategy that I've utilized, is house hacking. That's almost the only effective means of expanding right now, because unless you go get something like well off market, and there's nobody who's not going on market right now, because you're going to get an exorbitant amount of money for your house. Like the deals are borderline drying up unless you're a wholesaler or you're buying something that needs a lot of work, or you're into rehab. Like if you're just like trying to like go buy something and be in it, like right now, the only thing that you're doing is basically getting roommates and then trying to break even. It's just the interest rates are way too high. But they're talking about the interest rates starting to tilt the other way because they've broken the housing market, apparently. They've broken it in the sense that prices are staying exactly where they are, basically, and going up. And the interest rates are high. So when the interest rates start coming down, the housing price isn't going to go down with the interest rate. Once the interest rate goes down, people are just going to start buying houses again, and the prices will go up again. So like where does that leave you? Like, I mean, honestly, like it puts you in a situation where it's almost like if you've got a property, you're almost trying to flip out of the equity of that property into the next one. It makes it very difficult to save to buy a home. But we're gonna take a look at a couple of videos here. We're gonna do some quick hits today because like we're just talking about this whole rental crisis. I got a couple of clips that the homie over at, shout outs to Loudmouth's Flavor. He always hits me with them hot takes, them good videos. So we're gonna take a look at a couple of shorts, and then we're going to talk about the rental rates, and then we're going to talk about one of my personal solutions, being an average income blue collar, slightly blue collar. It's half blue collar, half IT, but I consider myself blue collar. I spend most of my days getting dirty. I like leading from the front. I like doing the work. I come home dusty. So we're gonna talk about how one of the blue collar come ups, and like one of the things I do, and I'll show you exactly what it is, because I get like a lot of pushback on my zeal for crypto and Bitcoin specifically. So let's take a look at these clips first. Let's see. Oh, hold on a second. Does this not play? Oh, it doesn't play if you put in the other window. Hold on a second. Let me do this. I'm going to mute real quick.
Million Americans own a home today, and 90 million of them do not have a mortgage. So they're only paying their property taxes and home insurance. They are living good right now. Then you have another 100 to 100.
So that 90 million that he's talking about, those are people who have their home paid off. You still got to pay your property taxes and insurance, of course, because if you don't, the government will take your property. And if you aren't paying your insurance, your property, and anything happens to your property, you're SOL. Let's keep going.
115 million Americans with a mortgage, and the average loan amount is about 187,000, and the average payment is about 1,500.
Oof. So, Jesus Lord. Happy I'm not in that camp. I'm definitely below that amount for the average mortgage, and I've gotten mine in the last 5 years, and I am definitely below that payment amount too. Yikes. Everybody got houses much bigger than mine. But it's okay. We gonna rock with it.
So this group is doing very well. Some are probably still struggling, but they have such an advantage because of today's housing market. Now, Group B, their back's against the wall right now, and that's why we have to look out for Group B. 115 million Americans, a third of our country, is renting right now. 115 million. But the problem is the average house in America right now is about $436. So the average payment's around $3,500. But let's be generous and say people relocate or buy a fixer-up.
Now, this is also dependent on where you choose to live. I know for a fact that for $3,500, you are living borderline in a mansion. Like you're in a neighborhood here locally where I am. I know that's probably nothing in California, but everybody doesn't have to live in California. I mean, for what people go out to California to work 15 jobs to pay for, they could be living in a penthouse other places. But like, you know, people feel they're entitled to be places. They want to be a part of a scene. They want to look like they're moving and shaking. They want to look like they're doing something while they're being indefinitely poor. And that, I mean, cool. You get to post on the gram that you went somewhere. That you broke forever. Okay. Like, cool story. It doesn't sound like that. Doesn't sound fun to me. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that doesn't sound interesting at all. You're gonna work 15 jobs to post on Instagram that you went somewhere to be indefinitely stressed out and miserable, having to do like a job, a career, 18 side hustles because you need to be able to go to the beach and take the picture for the Instagram. Like, bruh, like unless you getting flued out, like you flying yourself out, like, nah, fam, like that sounds like a terrible life. But I digress. Some of this boils down to people and their entitlement, and entitlement keeps a lot of people dirt poor, just be struggling forever. But I digress. Let's let them rock out.
And they get a house for $350. The payment's still $3,000. So the average family would have to earn about $100,000 with very little debt to even have a shot at owning a house in today's market. The thing that scares me about this is people used to buy a house with a fixed rate, and that was a forced savings account. And they also knew what their payment was going to be and could plan their life.
This is exactly what I was saying. You have a consistent payment. The only variability that I have is tax changes, and that could go up or down. Now, currently in the current environment with the current administration that we voted in and decided that we wanted, everybody's paying more in property taxes. And I think that's because the people who do not own property are screaming the loudest. And, you know, at this juncture, it almost seems as though they're ready and willing to just ruin it for everybody to like not get anything. Cause like it's also ruined for them too. but they're like, at least you're a little uncomfortable while we're living in hell. And it's like, whatever. Like
with renters,
I didn't have to move at all. So, I mean, you enjoy those policies. Like I had a like what, $75, 100 something dollars change. It's fine. I'm good on that. But these people are voting in these policies that are on the back end destroying them. Like they're voting themselves into oblivion because as the peasant class screams at the top of their lungs about how they want more from those who they perceive to have more than them, that are just happen to be working harder, happen to be financially literate, happen to be putting out content, giving you the game that you don't want to listen to or implement in your own life because it'd be too much work or the results are too slow or whatever excuse you come up with. Like you're making it worse for yourselves because like those of us who are in the ownership space, we have something we can leverage. You do not. So like there's only so much worse you can make it because it's not becoming easier for the people who are voting in these draconian policies, these restrictive policies, talking about eat the rich, which the rich has just become people who aren't broke at this point because for whatever reason. But as these policies are being implemented in place, the end result of the infinite money printing, we want to go save everyone, we want to let everyone come into the country, is inflation. The end of the day. And inflation always hits the working middle and the middle, working, and lower classes the hardest. And one of the things that's getting taken away now is the ability for people to buy homes. Like that literally has created a class system within the United States. It's homeowners and renters. And they're trying to, it seems weird to me that like this is what's playing out. And you have people blatantly trying to like co-sign that like renting is the thing to do when they're just jacking the rates up for you, but they own shit. It just doesn't make sense to me. Sorry for swearing, but like it is crazy to me that somebody would buy that and then people will ingest that and go parrot the talking point like they're doing something. Like I'm saving up for a house. It's like, okay, how much is the house that you want? Oh, I want to get a house for $350,000. That's going to be a townhome by the time you get, like, I actually own a townhome. Like we almost to $200,000. You talk about saving up $350,000. Where are you trying to live? Where are you trying to live? Because depending on like where you're trying to be, if you're trying to be in like the spot, then like the size of what you're getting is shrinking actively because my property values are going up. Is what it is.
We turn into a renter's economy. It scares me because what if the rent prices keep going up and the income doesn't match it, which is what's happening now? Where are we in 5 to 10 years with Group B if they can't afford the rent, if they keep raising it? So this is really the biggest issue of why people are complaining. It's because look at this data, 215 million.
And see, I don't even think it's complaining at this point in time. People are blatantly seeing that their wealth, their birthright, their future is being robbed right from underneath them. The issue is people don't understand the finances, so they don't understand exactly why. They're just pointing fingers. But the reality of the situation is all these policies, all that money printing, all the COVID, remember the STEMI checks, all the PPP loans that went to the big corporations, but then now they busting all the little people who got in on that to get that free money too. All of that money printing, all of remember the quarantine beer chugs? I remember that. That was a real popular Facebook group here in the city. All of you guys who were sitting at home getting all that free money, it didn't come from nowhere. It didn't come from fantasy land when you were making more money to be on unemployment than go to work. Now you can't buy homes. It's a cause and effect. War in Ukraine. Now you can't buy homes. Cause and effect. You want to let everyone into the country. Federal dollars going to take care of people who just walked in here and decided that they get to stay with no due process. Cause and effect. Inflation. You can't afford food. You can't afford a home. They've artificially lowered the gas price for the election season. It'll be going back up after this is over. Cause and effect. Now you can't buy a home. Now it makes it harder for the people who don't know how to navigate this system because they're ratcheting up the difficulty level on the game that we're playing, which is a financial game. It's what it is. And people are upset now because it's noticeable when you can no longer get into a starter home because you're competing with BlackRock for a starter home. Like, why is BlackRock buying up all the starter homes? Because they don't want you to own homes. And as I was saying the other day, unlike Zillow and Redfin, BlackRock has a 20-year backstop on every house they purchase. If you won't pay their exorbitant rent, they will just let it sit empty so that you can't have it. So let's check out the other video because I haven't watched this one. This is going to be a blind reaction. Hold on a second. Let me see. Where is this one at? Hold up a second. We'll share this tab. Let me go see if I can find this video. All right, let's try this again. Okay, here we go.
If you only want to work 4 hours, it's going to be harder for you to get a house. We busted our behinds. We had to bust our behinds.
Whoopee, here is the problem millennials are facing today. If you look from 1980 all the way to 2019, the average home prices, this column is what's important. This was the income needed to qualify for the average home. Every year, even before the 80s, for the past 50 years, the median household income was more than what you needed to qualify until 2023, where the income needed to qualify is more than the median household income. And another thing you have to look at is this column over here, which is rent. You could rent for just 14% of your income, 17% of your income, 16% of your income. But look when millennials entered the chat, 25%, 25%, 30%. This is when rent prices started to go up. Now, millennials could have bought here, but what people forget in 2010, the youngest millennial was 14 years old. So we're being forced to spend 30% of our money on rent as a family, where most people renting are probably single because they haven't built a family yet, and they're spending 40% of their income on rent. So everyone wants to talk about inflation and that's always been the same up and down. No, it is a supply and demand issue with the housing market that's driving the prices up, plus the interest rates is making, with housing tax and student loans, 70% of millennial and Gen Z's income has gone to just those three things. Your college back in the 80s and 90s was $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 for a 4-year college. It is 40 now.
Sorry, if you only...
Yep, he's got solid points. He's not lying. I'll tell you that. He is definitely not lying. One of the things that I always put out there though as the caveat is you can find deals. Like before I opted to not rent any longer, we were in a situation that was really dope. Like we found a really cool spot in an area that was just starting to get gentrified. It was a little bit sketchy when we first moved in, but every year it got a little better. And we got a really good deal on the rent. And I lived there for 6 years. Yeah, it was like 6 years. I just never moved. Like I was in a position to where I could save money. Rent was dirt. And, it was a chill spot, but it got bought up by a conglomerate. They put a management company in there and they were going to jack the rent up. And then also it was terribly cold during the winters. Not going to lie. Like we had to pay like $1 million to get it up to like 50 degrees. Like it was bad. But that aside, and see, like this winter wouldn't have even been that bad because it hasn't gotten that cold here yet. But that aside, the rest of the time was great. And it was in a great location. It was a historic building. It was just old and not well maintained, and it ended up on the news after we moved because of how badly the draft was in there. But it was, like it was under prime rent. Like there's deals to be had, but like at this point, it almost seems like I can't even say that because that was 6 years ago. And when we moved, there was outside entities coming in and just buying up everything. So I can't even say that that would be an option now. It'd be something that I would look into. I've always been strategic about that type of stuff. Like we always tried to rent from people as opposed to like these management companies that are going to raise your rent $400 every time it's time to re-up. I always liked renting from human beings better, not dealing with a management human being that wants to talk to you like you're a peasant. But yeah, I mean, it's insane. I don't necessarily think it's cause for resignation. Like another caveat there is you got to look at where you're renting or where you're buying. Like, do you have to be in California? Do you even want to be in California is a question. Like me personally, I don't. Do you want to be in New York? Me personally, I don't. Like those places are terribly run. They're not safe. I also wouldn't want to be in Chicago. Like I wouldn't want to be anywhere that's terribly run and not safe. Like you don't want to be places that aren't safe. So especially if they're also expensive and you're taxed to death. Like that's like a extra slap in the face. But speaking of rent, let's talk about the current rental rates because we're all caught up on the clips. This is as of December 2023. The national median rent price in the United States is $1,967. Oof. Wow. Wow, people. That is crazy. That's a mortgage on a really decent place where I live. That's boy, that's expensive. That is expensive. According to rent.com research, this is a 20% increase from the $1,614 in March of 2020. In August 2022, rents peaked at $2,054. So like I said, they sneezed it back a little bit. They went achoo. And they gave you a few shekels back so that you can get to and from work. That's a tank of gas if you don't drive a truck. Like, or a car that requires premium. They gave you a tank of gas back. According to the World Population Review, the average American renter pays $1,326 a month, while average asking rent is $1,900. Single-family houses average about $2,018 a month, while the typical apartment costs $1,659 a month. These numbers are nuts. That is crazy. I mean, it seems like if the average asking price is 19 and the average renter's paying 13.26, there might be some haggle room in there. Always see if there's a better price. The most expensive states in the U.S. are Massachusetts, with an average rent of $27.14. Ooh, what is going on in Massachusetts? Like, what's so special about that place? That's crazy. Massachusetts is the most expensive. What is in Massachusetts that's so special? That's wild. New York, which is $26.39, and California, which is $25.31. So, California, everyone's leaving there. Like, how are they still commanding these prices? Who's paying these rents? That is wild. So, rent's insane. Interest rates are high, but yet we must persist, and we must continually look to increase our positions. And we are a digital native. I am a digital native. So it's crypto first, but my second passion is real estate. And so we are looking to acquire that second property. So we're going to look at the Bitcoin house savings, and I'm fine showing the numbers on this because we gonna be paying all them taxes because this is going to get cashed out. Gonna have a little capital gains going on there, which isn't, I mean, at this point isn't bad, but like the whole premise of this is a very aggressive savings play, and it's a cyclical savings play. You only get to do this once every 4 years, 4 or 5 years. But we're going into the Bitcoin halving, so we are definitely going to take advantage of those price spikes. And I really, since I'm fine showing the numbers on this because it's getting cashed out and, you know, it comes out of the market. So since I'm going to be selling this off at some point, I'm fine showing this to you guys. Because the rest of the stuff doesn't get sold. Not now, not never. Goes into the safe for retirement. I'll pay taxes on it then. But this is what I wanted to show you guys. So as we can see, we are up 10%, well, just under 11%, 10.98%, which is a gain on the savings total as of today, as of now. Well, as of today, Monday, because I'm recording late. Normally I record everything on Sundays, but just to give you, like, obviously you're riding the volatility of the market. It is highly volatile. If you don't like looking at numbers go down, this isn't for you. If you don't have the aptitude or the patience to look at this isn't for you. One of the things that we like about this is it gives us our average net cost, because it averages all your buys. So we are up. This has boosted the savings. There's an additional $326. We've been doing this for a month. And we will go back and take a look here. Oh, actually, no, we started in August. But I want you to look at the purchase amounts. So these are the costs. And I want you to look at the way that I save when I buy Bitcoin. Because everybody's like, oh, you just buy Bitcoin. I'm like, yeah, all the time. I started this savings with $32. It's the first purchase. Second purchase, $21. So these are just the shavings off of what was left from my house savings budget, because during this time period, we were actively putting money into the QQQ play, which is still there, getting that secured. We secured that back. And then as we got closer to the bull run, we started going in. But like, look, it's like $32, $21, $20. You don't have to be batting at the fences to save, to do this. Like, the math is the math. And I'm hoping that as we visit this savings, you guys can understand what I'm saying. Because like I tell people all the time, they're just like, oh, well, I don't have money for it. Like, you don't have $20. Like, you don't have $5. Like, if you have a Cash App, you can buy Bitcoin in Cash App. That's where I'm buying my Bitcoin, in Cash App. And it's $5 here, $20 there. Like, this is every 2 weeks. This ain't every day. It's the 21st, September 1st, September 17th, October 11th, October 13th. These are paydays. This is just what's left out of that bucket of money that went specifically towards this. Now, as we get down here, we start hitting some of that overtime, and it became a totally different game. But because then you're seeing, $300, $200, $298. Then November, we had a big one. We had some overtime. It was $400. And then we're also using leverage. We're using those small microloans from Cash App. We're also using those to bolster this. And then, you get into December. Now we're swinging for the fences. Like, in December, this is the beginning of the loan that we're currently riding out, which is a big boy loan. We are, we've got 500, 500, 500. We've got a little bit more that we have to throw in here for this. But at the end of the day, like, the whole premise of this is we're going to be buying up until 45,000. Everything just goes into Bitcoin for my house savings. And then at 45,000, we're going to peel back. We'll go back into the market, put more into the QQQ position, and then we're going to let this ride. Now, we make it to all-time high. The original goal was to get to $10,000. This, during the Bitcoin bull run, could easily become that $10,000 in and of itself without the QQQ position. And we're not going to stop the savings program. Like, my savings budget for the next property is the savings budget for the next property. We're just trying to maximize it as much as possible. So we'll be going to the walls with this until we get to that goal of, until we get to the cutoff of 45,000. Now, if this kind of lingers around a little bit, that would be great. There's a good probability that before the halving, which will be in April of next year, that if we get the Bitcoin ETF, this whole thing could go absolutely nuclear. If we don't get it, I still think that we're going to be, it's still going to be a run where it's going to be during the bull run pretty easy to hit my goals off this. I got 2 different sets of metrics, but if we get that Bitcoin ETF, then this could become something insane. But yeah, like, I mean, this is just a look at it. It's showing it's not like every single buy is grandiose. Like the ones were once I started putting in a bazillion hours and working myself to the bone. And then we figured out a way to leverage our credit to get some money in the door, to get some positions, to get some moves made and some positions knocked out. But overall, we're, it's about these small purchases, like the $20. It's $20. Still did it. It's about the dedication. It's about the discipline. And you have to be disciplined with your finances. Like I tell people all the time, like if you're not ready to like get into stocks, you can start investing in stocks within CashApp as well, because within their platform, they allow you to buy micro shares. I believe that Webull also allows you to buy micro shares, but any platform that allows you to buy micro shares, you can start a mini portfolio until you save up enough money to get into a TD or a Charles Schwab or an E-Trade or a Fidelity account. And then you just transfer the money over. Like obviously, depending on how the portfolio does, you could incur some potential capital gains tax in the transfer, but at least then you get to build up to that lump sum of money, because I know people don't like seeing money just sitting in a brokerage account going, oh, like when do I get to do something with this? Like I understand that. But with a vehicle like CashApp, where they have like a bunch of different financial products within that setup, you do have the opportunity to start small and still have it do something. Because like I said, you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. You can buy part of a Bitcoin. Like that's $20. That was 0.0007381/7 of a Bitcoin. And I'm fine with that, because this is still just math. And as you can see, it's still growing. 10% is 10%. It's $300 over the course of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months of continued saving, and it's growing. Because like as you can see, not all of these are in the green. Some of these are, though. Like the majority of them. I've only had 2 buys that are not positive, and it's the one today and the one earlier the one last week, because it's volatile. But I don't need it right now. So as long as it keeps going, as long as it keeps ratcheting itself up, boom, like this. So like I'm excited to track this so that people can understand what saving in Bitcoin could look like, because this is also something that can very easily be done for large purchases. Not gonna lie. Like it could be like after we get the next property, I might do something kind of like with the money pool that I have from my in-home banking pool now, except for do it in Bitcoin. And, just keep that pool going and just use it for large purchases, like a credit account, and see what that looks like. I think that could be pretty interesting. It'd definitely be interesting during the bull run. Not so interesting during the bear market. Actually, it could be interesting during the bear market because you can still build it up. But this is one of those things that we're doing, and we're cycling all money into crypto. We're trying to make some moves because this is gonna. I believe that this is going to be one of those years, and I put my money where my belief is. Like, I follow the numbers, and this is where the numbers and the money are all pointing me to crypto and Bitcoin. And I think we're going to close it out on that note. Definitely tap in. We are, and I know I say this all the time. I do say this all the time. I've said this for 2 weeks, but I'm encumbered. I'm obligation free. Hell or high water, regardless of what time we have to do it, we will be bringing Guns and Butter back to the front of the congregation this evening. You're going to be watching this at 3. This evening, Guns and Butter will be on. We're going to be talking about financial fitness, which actually ties into what we've been talking about today, because we're in this game and we're playing to win. It's your boy, Reckless Ray Dinero. And until next Thursday, I'm out.